Right, Chesh, it's great to have you back on the podcast again. How you doing?
Very well, thank you very well. Yeah, it's great to be back. We haven't done a podcast in a long time, so I'm glad that we've both managed to find the time to get some discussions in today regarding
Yeah,
popular events, stuff like that. And it's good to see you. Yeah, thanks for having
yeah,
me.
no, likewise. It's good to connect with you again. And sometimes it can be difficult, can't it, with life and work and stuff. But yeah, we
Yeah.
we thought we'll talk about kind of current events, kind of things that are going on in the world because there's lots of different things happening in the world. Some good, and some very controversial things. And we was talking about the kind of situation in Kabul and Afghanistan, and then we was talking about
Mm,
technology and AI because Elon Musk has announced that he's made a robot or Tesla bot or something like that. So
crazy guy.
yeah, so it's very, I mean, exciting, but I think at the same time it's very kind of controversial, quite worrying because
Yeah.
a lot of people worry about robots taking over and that kind of thing. So I'm going to play this link here, which is Elon Musk talking about this.
Yeah, I hit that.
What we're doing right now with the cars, Tesla is arguably the world's biggest robotics company because our cars are like semi-sentient robots on wheels. And with the full self-driving computer, essentially the inference engine on the car, which will keep evolving obviously, and Dojo, and all of the neural nets recognizing the world, understanding how to navigate through the world, it kind of makes sense to put that onto a humanoid form. And we're also quite good at sensors and batteries and actuators. So we think we'll probably have a prototype sometime next year that basically looks like this. And it's intended to be friendly, of course, and navigate through a world built for humans.
Wow.
And eliminate dangerous, repetitive, and boring tasks. We're setting it such that it is, at a mechanical level, at a physical level, you can run away from it. And most likely overpower it. So hopefully that doesn't ever happen, but you never know.
Wow.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
happening, isn't it? It's happening. This has been a long time coming.
Mm.
When I saw that, when it brought up the sort of stats of the robot and it said in like the bottom left hand corner, um, completes repetitive, boring tasks, I'm automatically thinking job loss, mass wide job loss,
Mm.
because it would be more efficient for a business, corporation, company to hire something like that. Well, not even hire, to buy it, to go down to the
Mm.
store and buy it, get it ordered in, build it, get it flipping burgers, get it putting stuff in boxes. It's taking jobs away, and obviously the human race is growing
Mm.
extraordinarily. Is going huge. We're getting so there's more people being born than what there are dying.
Mm.
And if we're going to be taking away jobs and replacing with robots because Elon Musk feels as though AI is the way of the future, then we're going to start seeing. I personally believe that if he said a prototype's coming out next year, I'd say they'd start entering. I'd say I predict it's going to be successful, and it will be available for businesses. And
Mm.
there's going to be worldwide job losses, and it's going to, cause a great impact to the economy. To be
Mm.
honest with you, yeah, I don't think, I feel like iRobot or the Terminator is the first thing that comes to my mind. I can see a real detrimental impact to our economy as a
Mm.
result of robots like this.
I think there's a lot of people who are pro robot, and there's a lot of people who kind of aren't, and some people who like robots and they think they're good, but then they don't want them to take over, and they still want people to be able to have work in those certain jobs. 'Cause like you said, when you think of
Yeah,
repetitive, mundane jobs, there's a lot of jobs that people do that kind of fall into that category, and you think
yeah,
like you
yeah,
said, flipping burgers or carrying things in boxes. The
yeah,
corporations wouldn't have to necessarily pay these robots on an hourly rate. They're just programmed to just do that job. They're
Do
not.
it. Yeah, just do it. They could do it
Because,
without tiring. You know, they don't need breaks.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
There's a
it
lot of
would be
factors.
from a business perspective, people in charge, if they were presented with the option to hire a human or a robot, they would go with a robot. It's cheaper, more efficient.
Mm,
Both of those, what do they both those mean? More money for the company in the long run. You know, well, also I don't talk about it a lot, but how old was I? I think I was 18, just about turning 19. And you know, I was out in the big world on my own. And I had to sign up to a job agency, and they got me a job in a warehouse. And for my entire probationary period, I was stood in the same room packing curtain tracks into the boxes, which they were the retail packaging. And I was doing that for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. You know, I was even there some Saturdays as well. I mean, I personally, I put my head down and I got on with the job. I got offered a full-time contract with the firm. Then I ended up in the offices, getting on with the board of directors, etc., and everything's got better for me. But that is the perfect example of a job that could be performed by a robot like that.
mm,
And that job was offered to me because I needed work at the time. I was 18, 19. I didn't have a proper job. I didn't get into uni. So I needed a full-time job, and that was available there for me. But in 5 years' time, someone like me, when I was that age, albeit 8 years ago, whatever, you know, there's going to be a robot doing that instead, and that's one less job for
mm.
someone like me who needs work. You know, I think maybe these robots should be doing tasks that are, you know, not really quite fit for humans or are dangerous for humans. But I think out of this, even if they were introduced into like workplaces and stuff, I think there would be a law surrounding preferential treatment for humans over said robots. Maybe the government will offer these companies some sort of grant or a reward for hiring humans over a robot. But you can't stop the future at the same time, can you? You know what I mean?
It reminds me of that film Chappie with those robots.
Yeah. Reminds me of iRobot with Will Smith, that legendary
Yeah,
film. Let's
yeah,
watch that again sometime.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's what it reminds me of.
the thing is, like you said, it's all correct what you mentioned, and I think like people would rather do that and get robots and pay a flat fee for a certain amount of robots, and then they don't have to worry about
Yeah.
all the rest of it. And they're saving so much more money.
But buy 4 robots, get a fifth on discount, right?
Yeah,
That'll
there'll be
probably be a
there'll
thing.
be some crazy agreement. I mean, what comes to mind as well? Have you ever heard of Boston Dynamics?
No, I don't
I'll
think so.
screen share again and I'll show you this link. Let me
Okay. Who are they?
Boston Dynamics are a company obviously in Boston, and
Listen.
they make robots, and they
Right.
are supplying, I think, working with the military.
Okay.
So they've made a few robots. Have you seen this? There's some that are being manufactured and sold now for building sites.
Oh, really?
It might be another title.
No. Yeah.
Let me just mute this because it's just music.
Oh, yeah.
So here we've got a robot, running through a field, human-sized robot. This is, I think, early prototype footage of it.
Right.
There was one, he's notified there's a stick in the log in the way and he's jumped over it. But this is like early prototype footage of it, and I think it's a lot more sturdy now. And they've done so many tests.
Wow. Look how fluidly it's moving.
It's just jumped up on those steps, and I think they're going to be looking at using these for the military so they can arm these, and I think put them in situations that aren't safe for humans. So that's like, kind of like that film Chappie.
Yeah.
This is the one that is actually being sold now for building sites, and what they do is they it's like that thing off Black Mirror, that website, that the episode with that.
Yeah.
Look, and it's they're testing it and they're poking sticks at it. Look, and it's opening a door with his arm. Look, and it's resisting as well, and it's like maneuvering around.
Wow.
door. And this is
Wow.
legit. This isn't fake. This is real.
Yeah.
Look at how solid this is. So that's been built for like building sites to carry concrete blocks and things like that, or warehouses.
Yeah.
That's called Spot.
Spot Mini. Yeah.
Um,
That's pretty cool then. But yeah, but it's just
But-
more examples of
this one.
job losses.
This one's got wheels.
That's going to be delivering takeouts, isn't it?
Probably, yeah. All the Deliveroo drivers like
Yeah.
going downstairs.
Oh, it's jumped. Wow.
This one's in a warehouse. Look, this one's in a warehouse, this particular robot. Look how fast they are as well.
It's crazy.
I mean, they have big, massive robots in these the factories that make cars. There's these amazing robots that build
Yeah,
cars
but
and things.
they're
but
like they're just stationary robots, aren't they? No, it's just
this one freaks me
few
out.
arms.
Yeah.
Why? Oh, I've seen this
saw-
one.
I saw a video of this one with like a mounted 50 caliber machine gun on top of it.
I mean, yeah, there's lots of applications. Think of like military use with robots that can walk and do tasks and stuff, isn't there? There's
But look how fast it is.
it's galloping, man. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so I think in some ways I can see the benefits to it, but in some ways it's fairly worrying, because I think people often worry that's going to make jobs obsolete for humans, and then
Yeah, I mean, even if they go into the military, these robots, it's going to be replacing soldiers.
yeah,
So that, yes, again, more job losses. But obviously, rather a robot take a bullet than one of our own and whatnot. But
well,
yeah.
they're already using drones. I mean, they're obviously robots, but they're using drones to go into situations and drop bombs.
Yeah, drones are particularly useful there because they can sort of, fly in from a certain height and bombs or missiles, rockets, standard rockets, whatever.
I think it's really interesting to see what's going to happen.
We have to wait and see, man. We have to wait and see. I reckon before robots get into like proper use, whether it be military or on the civvy street, I think we'll probably be in like our mid-30s before we witness something like that. Which means that if we're mid-30s, we'd have a lot of time to make use of stuff like that. I'd love to have a robot around the house cleaning and stuff. That'd be mint.
But you can get robots, can't you? You can get these little robots that are like UFO discs, and they go on your carpet and they just go around for you and just suck up all the dust or whatever.
Crumbs, yeah. No, yeah, you can get this. That was pretty cool. I would like one of those. I think that would be pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, I've got. Well, my house is pretty big, but I wouldn't need one of those really. Like, I don't have much dust and stuff.
You could just speak to it like, Jeffrey, clean the kitchen.
Yeah. Whilst you're lying there getting fat on the sofa watching the film. You don't need to get up anymore. Robots can do all your house chores for you.
Yeah. The other thing we mentioned was that situation in Afghanistan, which is kind of still ongoing. There's a video here which I can find. I won't play all of it, but
it's just horrendous. Taliban hitting people, paras with no choice but to hold their line. The road to safety is packed, thousands upon thousands. It's hard to put into words how desperate this is, but most of these people will not get through.
Stay there! Stay there!
Sergeant Major Gazmat Man has a man's passport. On a container, he calls him forward. A Talib fighter lets him through. He passes the passports back, but he has to wait. The shipping containers have been put on the road to keep the gates of the British compound clear. People funneled through.
The main shield wall!
Soldiers called up to reinforce the human wall beyond. It's constant. Once through, it's better, but not much. Again, thousands penned in as the identification process goes on. British and American troops are now working together. trying to differentiate the countries the evacuees should go to. It's fair to say the soldiers have never seen anything like this, even the old hands.
Sometimes you have it like absolutely rammed with people pushing and chaos outside. Other times it sort of calms down. What happens?
Sometimes we can manage to calm the crowd down using the local nationals to calm them down. When they see the process is working, they're calm. When they start getting a bit hot, dehydrated or whatever, people start getting annoyed. We tend to find a lot of the people causing the disturbances haven't got the correct documentation, so they sort of know their chance in their arms, and that's how that one.
And I suppose really this is all about time, isn't it? You've just got to crack on.
No, that's it. We're not going to be here forever.
It could be days.
Who knows?
Some heading to America have their contact's name held in the air. They've been here for hours, but Spencer hasn't come.
We've been in contact. The crowd is just crazy. No one is helping, and I don't know if this keeps going, no one will get help. We are requesting the government to fix this.
Are you going to America or to
America? I've been working with them for 5 years.
It's hot, blisteringly hot. British soldiers spot a baby in danger. They take control. With her family in tow, they make their way to the British compound. These are combat soldiers, remember. But they also care about what's happening to the people here.
Well, it's absolute pandemonium, but funny enough, it's not chaos, it's actually just chaotic. The British and American soldiers are now working together, and that is a massive change, and it's really improved the system, but they're still trying to separate the people. You look down here, I mean, you know, there are thousands. They're working their way through it as best they can. Point to remember, though, is if you come this side, beyond the containers, it's absolute chaos down there, and they're just queuing to try and get inside.
Over the heads of the evacuees, another transporter plane takes off. That's what they're here for, the flight to safety. In the midst of all this sadness, sometimes, just sometimes, you see joy breaking out. They are going in. Wahid was a British Army translator in Helmand. Now he and his family are going to the UK. It's been agreed.
This is a very happy day in my life. Yeah.
Have you got family in Britain?
No.
So you're the first?
Yeah, I'm going to go to Britain. That's my first trip to Britain.
And so you're waiting just to get closer?
Yes.
Was it scary outside?
Yes, it was very scary. It was very hard to find outside. Like a zombie.
Yeah.
Like a zombie.
So zombie land.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about in Britain?
To educate my family and my children to Britain and Britain, and become an engineer and doctor in Britain, and serve for Afghanistan and for British people.
Fantastic. Well, do you know where you're going?
No, I don't know. I'm sure. I'm not sure where we'll be, but it will be Britain.
But somewhere.
And somewhere, yeah.
Time is running out for this evacuation. There is no doubt in that. It's just a matter of how long. Not everyone who should go will. The majority in the streets outside will not. Very soon, they're on their own. Stuart Ramsey, Sky News.
So yeah, I mean, that's a snippet from, that's like, you know, a clip of a segment of what's going on. I mean, there's many more things happening in that situation and unfolding. But I mean, so I got my dog here. But yeah, what do you think?
I think, yeah, it's. I mean, it happened so quick. That's what got me, because then the first I heard about it, it was literally like, oh, the Taliban have taken over Kabul and the president has fled Afghanistan. I was like, what the hell? That escalated quickly. But what I'm still trying to work out and get my head around is why there was no intervention from neighboring military forces to stop the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. Like, why? Yeah, like, why wasn't there any military intervention? What happened?
I saw an article and they said that they fought and assumed that, I think, don't quote me, that the Afghan army would stick up for themselves because there's 300,000+ Afghan army soldiers, but their president took off and left. He was like, "Oh, sod this! I'm saving myself." He took off, and they probably thought, well, the Americans and the British and our allies are going as well. And I think they just kind of felt a bit out of hope. Even though there's 300 plus
Right.
thousand of them,
Well,
there's
how many Taliban were there?
75,000, I think, on an article on a link I saw.
So
So they
why
could have.
there must have been more to it. They wouldn't just put down their arms, because obviously there in that image near the was it the British compound? There were the Taliban fighters in the crowd letting people pass. That means that they've assumed all control of the ground. So there must have been something more to why the Afghan fighters would just put down their arms. Like if they've outnumbered the Taliban so many to one,
Yeah, I mean, they're
what's
probably
the crap?
fighting for the president and who obviously the government are in charge. And if obviously the government have taken off, then they're
Yeah,
like, well, we don't actually want another war.
true.
We're just going to sit back and let happen whatever's going to happen. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I assume they're still fighting in some parts, but
Yeah.
it looks like the Taliban have pretty much won. And I mean, what happens next for Afghanistan?
Well,
That's
I
the
saw
question, isn't it?
I saw a link yesterday, and the Taliban were giving like a bloody news conference and speaking to reporters and stuff
Yeah.
like probably like professionally, like sitting down, and you're like, what? But
I didn't actually watch the clip of that. So what did you watch that? What was the outcome of that?
they were just saying that they're like they're paving a new way, and they're going to respect people's rights and women over there and stuff like that. I mean, whether that's true, that might just be them saying it for the media in the Western world, like a propaganda almost. But I mean, I've heard different
I would
things that
say so.
yeah,
I
but-
mean, women's rights out there, they're virtually non-existent as they are, but it depends what sort of law that the Taliban are going to impose. If it's Sharia law, then no, there won't be any rights for women, because women, stay at home and bear the children and do everything in the house, and the men go out and do everything else. So I can't imagine women's rights getting better as a result of the Taliban taking over Afghanistan.
Because they've been going through people's houses apparently, looking for particular people, looking for people who helped the Americans and the British, people who worked in the banks. So they're literally on a hit list almost.
Yeah,
I've heard on some articles.
There's a
And
massive
people don't
agenda.
always, and that's not being thingied in the mass media. They're trying to say, well, the Taliban are saying one thing while some other things actually happen behind the scenes. I think they're just trying to, when you think the nature of kind of how ruthless they are, you kind of think there is going to be that happening, but they're not obviously going to be owning that and saying that that's actually happening to the wider world, if that makes sense. They're just trying to paint a certain picture of the situation. It's quite sad. I mean, all those people stuck there, like people trying to get to the UK, people trying to get to the US. I think Boris said 5,000 are coming to the UK this year. I mean, was that one situation?
In hindsight, that's not a lot. So where else are they going? Are they going? So they're going to England and America. Do we know of any other countries that are taking?
I'm not too sure.
Spain built a massive 40-kilometer long fence.
I saw that in Greece, is it?
Yeah, the Greeks. Yeah, they built a massive 40-kilometer fence. It's so tall, literally, like there's no way anyone's getting over there. And it's all like spikes and wires at the top, so there's no way that people are going to be able to jump that. But Spain apparently did that to stop Afghan refugees fleeing into Europe illegally.
Wow.
Well, I guess it's not really illegally if you're a refugee, as it were, but there is a set process that you have to go through. I think Britain, so Priti Patel is obviously on the forefront of all this when it's coming over to America. It's pissed off a lot of conservatives because it's essentially it's mass migration. That's what it is, and they'd be looking to settle here permanently, obtain their national insurance, stuff like that. So I think whilst we England don't really have any sort of obligation to help these people, but that's what Britain's like. Britain will take those people in anyway, and then sort of worry about everything later. Apparently, and you saw I sent you that article this morning that there's already been violence in America, not from Americans towards Afghans, but the other way around. There's been bouts of fighting where Afghan refugees have been beating up and assaulting Americans over anger or something. And I think we're going to see the same here, quite possibly. I don't quite know how it's going to pan out, I've also seen British people are offering up their homes to help these
Yeah, I
people.
saw that.
Yeah, I think it's their choice if they want to do that. If they're willing to bear the cost of that, then that's up to them. But the government should have somewhere to put these people. But obviously, we do have to put them sort of last. We can't accept them as a priority over homeless children, homeless vulnerable adults.
Yeah.
They're the priority here.
Well, the thing is, I mean, there's a lot of people who already here who are struggling to get houses or struggling now to get homes and to get to get somewhere. Our own people, and I think there's that controversy between that, conflicting that, because people here already, whether they're from here or not, are struggling to get somewhere, and then people are coming here and then being given stuff. People are going to be saying, "What about XYZ people who have been waiting for a long time?" So it's very controversial, and it's very,
It's a
there's
sensitive
so many
topic.
layers to it.
Yeah, I mean, as a conservative myself, I do feel as though we don't really have an obligation to take these people in apart from moral grounds. There's no agreement that exists between Britain and Afghanistan that I know of that means in the event of a Taliban takeover, we have to take in the citizens. This is just Britain, doing their usual thing with the outreach and offer the support and take in, and don't really consider what's going on over here enough before doing it. But I appreciate that it is an emergency. It's a bad situation out there. A lot of innocent people have been hurt, their lives have been affected. So sure, we can help, but I think we need to be addressing our own issues first before we start helping as much as we can elsewhere.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting to see how it's going to unfold. It's just quite sad, with what you think of kids and children. I mean, that's what I feel sorry for as well. But it's like I think we have to do something. Something has to be done. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be interested to see what other countries are going to do. Other countries in Europe, Italy, Germany, France. I'd be interested to see what their approach to this is.
Yeah.
France is quite a left-leaning country, so I imagine they would try and help out. However, conservatism, as it were, in France has increased a lot over the years with Marine Le Pen, I think her name is.
Yeah.
She's the right-wing leader. Along with Germany, you've got AfD, Alternative for Deutschland. So right-wing conservatism in Germany is going up. So it'll be interesting to see how these countries react to the situation in Afghanistan and whether they'd accept these people in. So yeah, we'll just have to see how it pans out, really.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's early days with that, isn't it? We'll have to see what happens. And like the last kind of thing I thought we'd talk about is like relationships. I mean, I think like COVID, I mean, for me personally, it's kind of changed my outlook on things and really made me think more about, my time, my energy, where it goes, who I spend my time with. And I think, in relationships, you need to be very mindful of that. You want to be happy with that person. You need to kind of, know yourself, know that person. I think, with the pandemic, I mean, obviously we couldn't go out and meet people and things like that. I think a lot of people were doing online dating. There's a lot of difficulties with online dating. It depends where you live. With that, when you're getting to know someone, you can get to know someone for a couple of weeks, and then they just vanish and disappear, and then you're like, great, and then it's in relationships. It's about that kind of you got to put in 100% each side. It's not 50-20, 80-40. It's you want to be getting back what you're giving out, and I think any relationship, whether that's an intimate relationship with someone, whether that's a friend, someone you work with, it kind of correlates in different areas. If that makes sense. I mean, what do you think? Like,
no, I think I'd like to touch upon the you mentioned about similar energy each side of the relationship. Yeah, that's 100% true. A relationship has to be 50-50. You have to get out what you're giving in, and so a lot of people these days, in terms of online dating, which has increased exponentially throughout the lockdown, people have been sort of jumping more into relationships. I think maybe trying to compensate for the time that they've been alone. Me personally, I mean, I entered lockdown. I was recently single in lockdown. I had girlfriend during lockdown, and then I got another girlfriend just as lockdown, you know, came to a proper end. So yeah, but I think, yeah, 100%, in order to make a relationship work, it has to be the same effort each side. Because if you're not getting out what you're putting in, that's something you're going to recognize. Some people might struggle to recognize it if the relationship could be maybe somewhat abusive, or, you know, if one of them is a narcissist or something like that, it can make things a bit difficult in that respect. But yeah, 100%, you have to get out what you're putting in. That's the key to making a relationship work, is the effort both sides and the communication. And yeah, you need to take the time to find someone that can give you that.
I think it's that as one. I think listening, be able to listen to someone, and to understand you, and
Considerate.
yeah, that's it. And all of these things, like you said, not to be controlling, not to be, sometimes people attract certain people, for whatever reason. Sometimes people might think a certain way about themselves, so then they attract someone who gives them that. They don't think they're not worthy enough as a person. Then sometimes people, not all people, get with someone who gives them that. They make them feel like they're not worthy. They make them feel a certain way. And I think a lot of it, is to do with people's beliefs. I mean, it's very, very deep when you peel back relationships, when you think about it, like in a psychology point of view with it, like why someone's with someone. And if they're in someone that's negative, is there something underlying there with that person, that how they feel in themselves? And, a lot of the time people aren't aware of it. They're in a relationship, it's negative, and they're almost kind of blind to it. Or that's all that they know, or that's what they've learned, maybe from their parents, and how people see their parents in a relationship. They think, oh, well, this is probably how it's meant to be. And then
yeah, I mean, you do. A lot of people, I mean, I personally, some of the behaviors what's the word I'm looking for, behaviors I took part in, or stuff I did, I would kind of think, oh, well, what was, because my mum and dad are still together, I was like, okay, well, what would mum or dad do? And you do kind of put that into your relationship a little bit. Yeah.
But I think, But I mean, we do it without thinking sometimes, you know what I mean? We kind of do it automatically. And I think, everyone has sometimes insecurities, or they act a certain way, or some people avoid it. Like when you think about attachment, we want to feel, that we belong, and feel like that we like to feel attached to someone. We like to be in a relationship. Sometimes people don't want to not be in a relationship because they don't want to go through that feeling of loss and all the rest of it. So then they just jump into stuff, willy-nilly. So I think there's that as well. I mean, there's so many areas in relationships. I mean, it's really interesting when you think about it. But I think, like you said, there's no point just being in a relationship for the sake of it, just because you want to be with someone.
No, I think you should never be with someone for the sake of being with someone. I know some people will struggle to like be alone, like to be single is like a real chore for some people. They can never be single. There always has to be someone on the go. Personally, I find as though when I am single, I use the time to better myself as a person. I've got more energy for myself. Therefore, I can do more stuff I want to do. I can change. I can think of maybe different jobs, or I can think of ways to maybe get fitter or something. Because I think when you're in a relationship, you're putting a lot of energy into it, because every relationship you want to make it work. That you can kind of give too much of yourself away, or not spend enough time self-caring. In my previous relationship, I didn't do enough self-care, and unfortunately it did take its toll on me. Obviously not in a situation like that at all anymore, but I did give too much of myself away, and I was being too good, as it were, and it had a negative impact on me. But every relationship and every one you date, it's another life lesson, and something you can take with you moving forward, so that when you do meet the right person, as it were, your soulmate or whatever, you've already collected all the wealth of knowledge and experience in order to be able to effectively communicate and make it work, and recognize certain behaviors that give you a red flag or something like that. I mean, for instance, now dishonesty is a massive no-no for me. If you're not honest and you're lying to me, then that's just a massive turn off for me. And there's something that makes me think, do I want to keep getting to know this person if because I've spotted their dishonesty or something? I think honesty is a big thing in relationships alongside communication. I'd say it's just as important as communication. But if you can communicate effectively, what you're going to notice is there's going to be less dishonesty. So that's definitely something you have to take into consideration when getting into a potential relationship or getting to know someone.
Yeah, no, I think that's really well said. I really agree with you, and I think like in relationships, sometimes, like you said, you mentioned that you had certain negative relationships in the past. You have those kind of red flags, and you kind of see certain patterns when you have other relationships, like say now or in the future. And I think sometimes you have to kind of have those experiences, kind of know what you want, or know what you don't want, and you kind of learn what you meant to learn from those experiences or relationships. Otherwise, you keep doing the same ones over and over, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
We've all got patterns, and I think as long as you recognize that and then you see it, and you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to do this anymore, etc.
Yeah, you do have to. That when you're in a relationship, you do have to have that level of self-assessment. So if you do something that, say, your partner doesn't like, you need to have the abilities to go, all right, take a step back. What did I do? What annoyed them, and why? More importantly, why did it annoy them, or why didn't they agree with it? Why did it make them upset? And you do have to sort of change yourself in a way to it's like give and take in a relationship. I mean, in my last relationship, it's just I was giving too much and not getting enough in return. So that's why at the end I just left. It was very nice, but yeah, it's definitely an element of give and take, self-assessment, seeing what you're doing wrong, recognizing your own patterns, and improving on that to try and do the best for the person that you're with.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. And I think, like you said, you don't want to be in a relationship where you're feeling drained or you're not getting back what you're putting out. And I think, like someone said to me, I don't know if you've heard this expression, it's like you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You only have so much to give. You only have so much to give. No one's asking you to give everything you've got. You give what you're comfortable with, but and just keep an eye on how much you're giving. Don't put yourself in a position where you're not able to take care of yourself for the sake of someone else. Because if you're doing that, then they're obviously not taking into consideration your life, your self-care. If you're doing that, then they're more obsessed with their own self-care and not taking yours into consideration. And then that's the balance tips, doesn't it? It's not 50-50 anymore. It's more for them, less for you. That's not what you want. So yeah, you definitely need to recognize that. Make sure you take enough time for yourself. Don't be pressured into sort of being with them, doing stuff they want to do all of the time. Take the time for you. Do stuff you want to do. At the end of the day, you are the most important person that you know. When we're in a relationship, we kind of give a little bit of that up because we want them to be happy and satisfied, etc. But we can't give too much, otherwise we're just gonna lose ourselves in the process.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's that fine balance, isn't it, with it all? It's that fine balance with it all. And I think if you was wanting to do something like that, when you think about self-care, if you wanted to go for a walk, if you wanted to go out with your friends, or you wanted to, I don't know, read a book or whatever, they should support you in that. They should support you in that, and you should do the same with them. And I think that's sometimes where people clash, because the other person might have their own insecurities. They don't want them going to do certain things. They want all the time to themselves. They want all the attention. And if they're not getting that, if someone should, like, you're not filling their supply, and it's that fine balance. And people in a relationship, you need to be around the right people or with the right person, and they should support you as you support them. Otherwise,
exactly,
you're just going to be fed up, miserable, get frustrated because you're giving so much, and you can't. I mean, I understand there are sacrifices sometimes, but I mean, it's nice to spend time together if you're with someone and do something nice. But then, we're not really designed to always be with each other all the time. You need that own space to recharge, etc.
100%. 100%. Yeah, of course. And that's just self-care. Some people in relationships, they're constantly doing stuff their partner wants or stuff like that, and it can have a negative impact on your own life in many respects. If you're giving too much of yourself away, it can affect, say, a relationship with your friends, with your family, your work, stuff like that. When that happens, you can sort of like doubting the level of commitment that you're giving. And when that starts to happen, the relationship can take a bit of a tumble. So yeah, definitely a big pointer is look after yourself in a relationship. You may consider the other person to be more important than you because obviously you love them, but just remember to look after yourself. You are the most important person you know. So take that time for yourself. Do stuff you want to do. Don't give them your all, because then you'll have nothing left for yourself.
Yeah, no, I think that's really great advice. And I think if someone would have said that to me, early on, then I probably wouldn't have done, wouldn't have probably done, the things that we did. And I think it's really, really true what you mentioned. And I remember, like, I was listening to a podcast recently with Joe Rogan, and he was talking about relationships, and he was talking about UFC fighters or MMA fighters. He didn't name drop anyone, but he said he knows people in that world where their partners are pretty negative, and they'll go to the fight, and the guy will go in the fight and get knocked out, or he'll get lose, and their partner is having a go at him, saying what the hell was that all about, and then being abusive to him because he didn't win or he didn't perform well. And he says he's seen it in some guys, and their career just slowly dwindles down because their partner is on them because they're not like winning or whatever. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean that's just. Well, yeah, because I mean, imagine if you were a UFC fighter, you went into the ring, into the cage, and you lost the fight, and the person you who's supposed to be there to support you is having a go at you because you lost. How is that going to make you feel? That's embarrassed. That's a massive inner loss. That's like a double time loss. You lost the fight, and now you're losing your happiness at the same time, because you're not going to be able to get over the fact you lost because your partner's always grinding down on you.
Yeah.
And partners do need to ensure they're being supported no matter what. Whether they lose or win shouldn't change the way that they're being treated. That's absolutely disgusting. And it sounds like that woman is just there for material wealth, not for that person. You're with someone for them. You're not with them for what they do and what they have. That's a materialistic relationship, and that's not much of a relationship at all. That's just fictitious on paper relationship, and it isn't very pleasant.
Yeah, most definitely. I think as well, like some people maybe have insecurities, and they're afraid to commit into something, so then they just kind of seek kind of temporary relationships, if that makes sense. They engage in things that aren't really, what's the word, solid,
Yeah. I think that's where ghosting comes from. I think when someone isn't really ready
genuine
to commit to what they're making out they're going to be committing to, and they just end up ghosting. I think I've been ghosted once by a girl, and once I have ghosted a girl. We actually made up though. I sent her flowers to her house along with a load of
just made it all right.
A month later. Yeah, it did. Yeah,
okay.
I have a.
I'm sorry.
I use her. She gave me a Netflix login, so her Netflix is saved on my TV. Yeah, no, she was sound with it. She understood. It's better. She lived miles away. I couldn't make it. She was like well over an hour away, so I just couldn't make it work, unfortunately.
Thing is, I think what comes into it is just communication. I mean, people just being honest and say, look, it isn't working out. I mean, it's
some people are afraid to do that. Some people don't want to do that. It's because they're afraid of the repercussions. They don't want to be had a go at or made to feel as though that they're a bad person. So they might avoid those conversations and try and seek the solution another way, which might be more detrimental to their well-being. But some people just can't speak out.
It's a funny one, isn't it? I've been ghosted quite a few times, and I've even gone on dates where I've traveled to go meet someone, and they haven't even turned up, and they told me last minute, and I've spent like an hour drive into somewhere, and then they're like, oh no, I can't make it today, and you're like, great, cool. But I think like the way I see it is it's kind of like it's kind of thickens your skin some way. Like, you kind of brush it off after a while. You're like, oh well, and then you just take more time to actually get to know someone rather than being like, should we meet?
Dating's a learning experience. You're learning about, yourself, how relationships work. You're more prepared for if something similar happens next time. Like when I split with my last partner, I didn't get upset once because I've gone through it before. I know how it feels. It doesn't really bother me anymore. So, and the way I see it, relationships at sort of now or in the past have just been a build up to me securing a relationship with someone else. I'm not in a relationship right now, but I hope soon maybe I will be. And fingers crossed, it's the last relationship I have. Well, I can't predict the fucking future. Sorry for the friend. It's just what I would say is if you're watching this and you are and you're single and you're looking,
you can email Cheshire, Thomas Cheshire.
I say don't look too hard because you'll never find what you're looking for. You need to let it not necessarily come to you, but don't look for something that you know isn't there. You need to wait for the opportunity to arise. When the time is right, then you will be presented with the opportunity. Then it's up to you to make the most of it. I've never gone out looking hard for a partner. It's just kind of happened, well, obviously I'm in like dating sites and that, but I don't really use them.
But the thing is, it's true in what you're saying, because like you said, you can't try hard. It's a bit like if you imagine like a stream of water, for example. You can't push that water up and stop it from moving. It's just kind of fluid. You have to kind of be, as you said, quite fluid and quite, you can't be trying hard, or they're all life lessons. But people recognize it if you're more relaxed in yourself. I think if you're kind of out there and you're trying to hard, people will recognize it and they kind of have like a detector almost. It's like if a woman was throwing themselves to you and trying hard, some people will be like, oh great, but then some people are like, hey, look, it's too much. It's that kind of balance, and you just have to just kind of go with it, if that makes sense. Because you hear about these stories where people meet each other and like, oh yeah, well this happened and then this happened and then we work together, and it's like almost synchronicity. You can't really force, do you know what I mean? You hear these stories, it's like, well, you can't really force that if it just naturally kind of unfolded.
It does naturally unfold. When the time is right, you'll meet the person that's right for you. Right timing, right person. Don't go searching too hard for it, because you'll just never find it. And use the time wisely. Why should you buy yourself? Use the time wisely so that you can improve on yourself in such a way that when you're then in the relationship, you're offering yourself as a better person than what you were, say, a year ago. I mean, me personally, I feel as I am a better person than what I was a year ago. I have an extremely strong work ethic. I'm committed. I'll go the extra mile, literally. So I feel as though I'm a much better person than what I was a year ago, and I feel as though if I got back into a relationship, I'd definitely be able to example some of the qualities that I felt as though I build upon in myself for the relationship in order to make it work, and to be the, I guess, ideal partner. All that's left is I need to get back into the gym, and that's it. Just lose the dad bod a bit. I hear dad bods are still in though, so I might leave it. I don't know.
Well, it's I heard a podcast where they talked about it, and they were saying that men get dad bods because it goes back to like tribal times and stuff. When women are pregnant, men, this is kind of what it goes down to, like in a genetic kind of level. Like in tribal times, men, obviously when their partner was pregnant, the men would eat more and kind of become more stronger so they can look after the family, look after the woman while she's pregnant. So they would store more kind of bulk and energy. So men do this. This is why men get quote unquote dad bods, because automatically, in our wiring, it's that's what it goes down to. I heard that on a podcast one time.
Okay.
So that's why
I can see the validity of it.
So that's why women are naturally attracted to that sometimes. It all goes back to that, I think.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, to be fair, I haven't come across a woman that I spoke to that said they didn't like a dad bod. I think the women I spoke to, I bring up dad bod, and they're like, "Oh, I love a dad bod. I love dad jokes. I love dad bods." Everyone's different. What, define a dad bod?
Yeah, for people who don't
Jesus
know
Christ,
what that is.
You want me to take my top off?
No,
I'm not doing
no, don't do that.
Just a normal guy that isn't like skinny, but isn't fat. It's someone. It's between skinny, fat, and muscly. Yeah, like I've broadish shoulders. Like I'm not skinny. I'm not fat. I'm not like chunky, but I'm not like a fucking feather. You're not going to drop me off the Eiffel Tower and I'm just going to float. I'm going to go straight into the ground and make an impact.
So Cheshire's got a post dad bod, pre dad bod. That's what he means.
Yeah. But I think dad bod. But I mean, where do I think dad bod? Personally, I think dad bod came from the fact that when a guy becomes a dad, he's got less time for himself because he's a dad. Dads make that sacrifice for the kids. They not necessarily get more lazy, but they do kind of let themselves go a bit, like a mother would when they've just had a kid, because all the energy goes into the kid. They haven't got enough time for themselves.
Living the quiet life.
I'm living the quiet life right now. Yeah. I intend to continue living the quiet life. I've just got a bit more work to do. Bit more work to do. Build on.
Everyone's a work in progress.
Yeah. Work in progress.
Is there anything else you want to cover, or do you want to kind of round it up there? Is there anything else you want to say?
I'm trying to think. I think we've pretty much touched on everything that we spoke about before we did the call. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Anything else you want to touch base on?
No, I think I'm good. No, I think we touched base on a lot of things. I think we touched base on some really good topics, with what's happening in the world, plus relationships. That's a big one. I think a lot of people can really relate to relationships, as well.
Yeah, no, it's been good, man. So we only organised it like 2 hours ago as well. I just text you like, "Hey man, podcast." You're like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah, this is the thing I love about it, because you can just say, "Okay, let's have a conversation." You just see where it goes,
Yeah, that's it. But that's because we're also best friends, so we obviously have that sort of connection, don't we? And it's not like a randomer, because then you might be stuck for stuff to talk about. But me and you, we can go on for bloody hours about stuff.
No, definitely.
Yeah. All right, I have to go and get ready for work now, I guess.
Yeah.
Sucks, but gotta make that moolah.
Yeah. Good talking to you, Chesh, and I wish you all the best in everything you're doing. And I'll put your details, Instagram in the bio anyway.
Feel free. I'm gonna share this with my Instagram anyway. So all right, bro. I'm just gonna get a quick screenshot, just a quick one. Sick. I'll put that on Insta.
Cool. All right.
Have
a good day.
I'll text you WhatsApp. Yeah.
Take it easy. Take it easy,
safe,
everyone.
man.
Take care.
Bye, bro. Bye.
Bye.